Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Welcome to an Underdog Best Ball Mania 3 draft. Like $10 million in the prize pool, $2 million to first place, $1 million to second place if you get all the way through to the finals, and another $1 million to the #1 team over the 14-week regular season. If you have not played Best Ball before, it is a zero transaction, war of attrition type of draft. We draft 18 rounds. Underdog is 0.5 PPR with no bonuses, so a lot of draft strategies in play. This draft, I went with an elite quarterback in the early rounds, built a stack around him, and then built the team out around that basis. So leave me a reply down below. Let me know what you think of this team, where you would improve or where you would change things in your drafts. We're going to have a lot of live drafts for real money on this channel throughout the offseason. Mock drafts? Nah, we don't mock draft on this channel. We play real games for real money against other real fantasy football gamers. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video. Trying to build out this channel. We're really close to 1,000 subscribers. So thank you guys for all the support so far, and onward and upward from here all the way until the 2022 season kicks off. So without any further ado, let's go.
He's a legend.
But I'm going to do a draft. We drew the 8th spot here in this first. I want to do 2 drafts today. This is the first of the 2. We're going to be drafting here on Underdog. This is a Best Ball Mania draft. $25 to enter, $2 million up top, $1 million to whoever finishes first over the first 14 weeks, highest scoring team over the first 14 weeks. You know, between, I don't know, between 87 million people that are in this tournament. If you are the highest scoring team, you get $1 million. Second place, also $1 million if you can get through the playoff gauntlet. So we drew the 8 pick because all I do is draw 7s and 8s. So I'm going to have to try and figure out what draft style I want to go with in this draft. As we spoke about on the video on the main channel, differences in best ball drafting strategy between DraftKings and Underdog Fantasy. Do just like whatever you want. As long as you've got like 2 to 3 running backs by the end of round 7, you're fine. It doesn't matter if you take them in the first 2-3 rounds or rounds 5, 6, 7, you're fine. That's really all that you need to do. So we're going to see how this goes. I'm going to try and correlate it around a couple of stacks. Put this up, I guess. Let you guys see things as they draft. Cooper Kupp 2, Justin Jefferson 3, Muy Interessante. You just drafted at 7. Like, I don't mind it, but like, I'm getting a lot of similar drafts because of the fact that I'm drafting 7 and 8 a lot. Christian McCaffrey goes 4, or is somewhat of a value. Okay, let's get rid of the draft board here. My pick of Dalvin Cook, Steph Diggs, Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce, Mixon, Lamb. Let's go Steph Diggs in this spot. You love the American Gladiator competition? Oh yeah, American Gladiator that was the deal. Do that, like AFC, NFC, American Gladiators. Have somebody up there like Nitro on the tennis ball gun. Just firing. Diggs followed by Devontae Adams. So the first round, even though the first round is not going to ADP order exactly, the first 12 is pretty much the first 12, kind of as we've spoken about. And we're going to keep updating this as the year goes on. CeeDee Lamb at 11, that feels aggressive. So I don't recognize any names in this draft. So this is me drafting against a bunch of people that I don't know, which is always good, right? Because like when people may know me, but I don't know them. I'm not like trying to break my arm, patting myself on the back, but like, you know, you do content for long enough and people kind of recognize your name. So there's always a possibility that people are going to snipe at the players that I pick or look at my roster construction, which I highly recommend you don't ever do. Draft your own team because this is a tournament. And in a tournament, that's where Lamb's been going. I've seen him go. I've done a lot of slow drafts recently. I haven't done a fast draft in 2 weeks. So like he had been going around 14 to 18 in most of the drafts that I'd been drafting. So you're saying he's slid up then. DeAndre Swift. Guys, I took Steph Diggs in the first round. So somebody already took my pick. I'm going to go with Josh Allen and draft him here, which is kind of a reach. I now have what I believe is the most powerful stack in fantasy football. Now, I do have to reach a little bit to get him as he is going after the second round turn on ADP, but I do not believe that he is going to be around for me at that next pick, and I can get what I want when I want it around there, right? I think that they're going to be extremely aggressive. Once again, I think that he's got a very talented passing group around him, and one that we can stack with. We talked about this in a previous video on the Fantasy Football channel here, where you can build around him and build a premium elite quarterback 1 stack and then fill in later with a secondary stack, you know, after round 10, where I'm not going to have to go and do that. Now, it may be more viable to draft a quarterback stack around rounds 5 through 9, and you can certainly do that. but that's why he wasn't showing. Yeah, I had to search him. Because like he should have been in this range, but he wasn't sitting there. So I was like, did somebody take him? And I looked back and they hadn't taken him. Might be a display error. So I'm coming up in a few picks here. You can see the end of the second round. Second round went Debo Samuel, Joe Mixon, Travis Kelce, Swift. I took Allen with Diggs. Evans and Henry is interesting. Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler. So two teams went running back very heavy. Roto Heat Craig, I don't know him, drafted two running backs. I'll be interested to see if he takes the third and goes full robust. And same with the guy in the, see if they go full robust running back. Yeah, Aaron Jones is due for, let's say, a heavy dose. Jefferson, Higgins, Michael Pittman to the number 3 team. Jonathan Taylor, Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown. The one spot still extremely powerful. I really think that it's just really powerful. I've never gotten Aaron Jones around the 3-4 turn. There are other running backs that go around there. Yep, full on robust running back, a very high T draft so far out of the 4 spot. But again, this is on Underdog, any strategy is possible. Now on DraftKings, this is not a strategy that I would employ. Although the first 2 running backs, very strong for full PPR, I would have not drafted a third running back if this was a DraftKings draft. All right, let's see where we're at. DJ Moore, somebody we talked about playing up in pace for the playoffs. Saquon Barkley, James Conner was a fast mover. I'm going to go with Saquon here. I know he's been injury prone. It's baked into his ADP. We're still getting him at a 6-pick discount over where he is being drafted at ADP. So like in terms of ADP, I think that that's a pretty solid spot for him. I believe that we can still get another running back if I want with the next pick to kind of anchor things. And if he's healthy in that new offense, I think he could be absolutely ridiculous and fantastic. James Conner, there was the guy that we had talked about as being a fast riser, being drafted below his ADP there, 35. This is an interesting spot is there's a lot of wide receivers, at least on my rankings list in this spot. A very solid strategy has been to go running back early, like that first round running back, and then select beyond there. Mahomes, David Montgomery. Montgomery being selected over Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott is my pick in this spot because Ian Hartitz kind of summed up everything that I had said on multiple videos. I think Ezekiel Elliott in the 4th round, middle of the 4th round, is such a drastic value right now to the point where you're drafting Ezekiel Elliott at his floor. If he has 10, 11 touchdowns, Allen Robinson at 4.6. I want a lot of Allen Robinson, but like 4.6 just seems so aggressive, but I get it. Like that's where Robert Woods was going. So like, it's the same offense. There's value there. I just haven't. I think if I take Cooper Kupp in the 1st round, if I get like a 2 through, probably 2, I'm taking Christian McCaffrey. If I get like pick 3 through 5 and I get Cooper Kupp in that spot, I'll probably prioritize getting Allen Robinson and then clearly prioritize getting Stafford and build around that Rams stack, which I think is a very elite stack. There's DJ Moore at 45th pick. Jerry Jeudy here at 46. That Denver stack is very easy to build. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Russ Wilson, very easy to build that. But to finish off the Ezekiel Elliott thought, you're getting Ezekiel Elliott at his essential floor, drafting him in the 4th round as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15th, 16th running back off the board. Be able to get a guy like that with the expectation of inside the 5 carries, 300 touches on the season, inclusion in the pass game, everything like that. There's Cortland Sutton. Did he go to the same guy? So he did not make, now this is, I could totally be wrong, but this looks like somebody took Jerry Jeudy here and this guy said, no, you're not getting both Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. That may not be true, but it sure kind of reeks of it, doesn't it? It kind of looks like that's the thing. It kind of looks like that's what happened. Do I like DK Metcalf this year at ADP? Sutton has Javonte. Okay, that's fair. No, I don't like DK Metcalf this year. That sucks. This sucks. I wanted Gabe Davis in this spot, right? That's where I wanted to get Gabe Davis, was in the 5th round. He did not fall to me. So that kind of stinks. Now, I'm not going to get my super stack there, but I am going to get a discount on Terry McLaurin. ADP of 45 falls to me at the 56th pick. One guy I reached on in the 2nd round, but he's a unicorn. So like I'm okay reaching for a unicorn. Value on Saquon, value on McLaurin. Just pick up Crowder late. Yeah, I'm not going to get both Crowder and McKenzie. That's not been something that I've targeted. Kyler Murray going in the 5th round. Going to be on Hard Knocks this year. I'll turn this back on. Easier for you guys to follow the draft, I think. I'll leave the last 2 rounds up. I got sniped. Yeah, I kind of feel like I did too. Because he took Mike Williams, he took Justin Herbert. He did not get, but like that seems like Joe Burrow in the 5th seems aggressive. Like I love that offense. But naked Joe Burrow in the 5th when you didn't get T. Higgins or Chase feels like a little aggro to me. So for this pick, it appears that I'm going to have, and I may not, okay, I may not, but it feels like I'm going to have, and I do have, a decision between floor and ceiling. Brandon Cooks, one of the best floor players on the board, like every year, right in the 6th round, I talk about how Brandon Cooks is the guy, but I like the ceiling possibility here, and in best ball, you should be drafting for ceiling with Elijah Moore on the Jets. I know it's the Jets. They wear Kelly Green, but like this kid looked super sick and very special. Late in the season, he is at the core of what they're going to do on the outside. And if Wilson has kind of a maturation offseason and year, as we have seen from some quarterbacks in their 2nd season, especially when a team has carryover in terms of verbiage, in terms of offensive coaching staff, and they built around him. So they did draft him another pass catcher. They got him a couple of tight ends who are both good blockers, but also good in the passing game. Wilson could really do better this year. They drafted Breece Hall to give him more options in the pass or in the running game, along with Michael Carter. This is an offense that could kind of take off, and if it does, I think that Elijah Moore has potential for star power. There goes Brandon Cooks on the other side of that. Totally understandable. Love Brandon Cooks pretty much every year. He's always on my top values list, right? He's always in the 6th round, and he always pays off. So I think the person took Davis for week 17 correlation with Chase. I don't give people that much credit. It's possible he could have done that. I don't give people all that much credit for thinking 17 weeks into the season, when I get into the final, I'm going to have this one-on-one back and forth between these two guys. Like, I don't think most people think about bring back players for week 17 in the happenstance that they make it through the 14-week regular season and the playoffs. He might have. It's very possible. He did correlate a quarterback, so it's possible. He's got a good team so far with Chase and Andrews. Has not drafted a running back, so he's somebody who is seems to be a thinking player, and he's got that badge. So it's entirely possible that that guy did that. You can't give people you don't know that much credit. Been watching too much Overzet? Yeah. No, I agree. It's a good philosophy. Look, I had Kyle, and we're going to do a video on this either later this week or early next week, talking about pace of play in weeks 15, 16, 17, projectable pace of play for opponents in week 15, 16, 17. And it's very possible. It's something that people should be focusing on while building your teams around insulated concepts. Cortland Sutton takes Russell Wilson, has 2/3, has Javonte, has Cortland Sutton, has Russ Wilson, has a good amount of that Denver offense. Will probably take Aquabunum later. Maybe he'll take Tim Patrick if he wants to fill it out. I don't think that you need 4 and 5 players. Edwards-Helaire has been going in the mid 80s to 90. He goes at pick 75 there. Jalen Hurts to the running back heavy team. Also went with Amari Cooper here. I have not built Cleveland stacks. One, they're a slow offense, and I try not to build, like, I'll take a one-off on a slow offense, but I try not to build a core around a really slow-playing offensive team. I think Ayuk's the best upside play here. We spoke about him the other day. Brandon Ayuk. Looking at what happens in San Francisco, again, we're dealing with what-ifs in best ball, especially when we're drafting this early. We want to have a little bit of correlation. We want to build things into our teams as we go through a draft. We also want to have players with upside. Drafting Ezekiel Elliott at 41, upside. Saquon Barkley at 32, there is upside there. Elijah Moore at 65. McLaurin at 56. Brandon Ayuk has similar upside in this spot because coming into last season, Ayuk was like a end of the second, third round pick, I believe, or if not, I don't remember exactly where his ADP was. But Debo was in the 6th round. That offense is going to be extremely proficient. It always has been under Shanahan. It's always going to be. Now, if Trey Lance is a star, if he shows out, if his accuracy and fundamental throwing issues have kind of chilled out a little bit, I'm not comparing him to Josh Allen, but like Josh Allen took that massive leap in terms of his accuracy in year 3. I'm not saying that that's going to happen with Trey Lance this year, but like, what if he's not terrible? What if he moves that offense? He already has like the most fantasy points per dropback of pretty much anybody in the league. So if that continues and they're able to move the ball and like Ayuk's not in the doghouse, or the massive upside possibility that Debo's just not on that team next year, we already have him at price. Again, this is a player we're drafting at price with the possibility for increased upside down the road. And I like drafting possibility for not just floor, but additional upside as well. Onto Renfro. I may have to reach a little bit for somebody. I don't love all of these players in this range. Like Christian Kirk, like you could go with him if you're building some sort of a Lawrence stack. Kadarius Toney, I do have the Giants. I might build out kind of a Giant stack. Garrett Wilson, I'm not big on taking that rookie wide receiver there. Russell Gage is somebody that I really, really like. I'm going to gamble and see if Gage... Now, I'm going to take Gage here and gamble and see if Tony is around at my next pick. Slot receivers in both, let's still call it the Bruce Arians offense, right? In that Bruce Arians Leftwich type of offense, and Tom Brady's slot receivers have always done extremely well. There goes Kirk, there goes Wilson behind him. Two players that I wasn't super interested in. I have shares of them, but I'm not thrilled. I'm not like chasing them. Watson going at 8-8, playing in Green Bay. Somebody has to catch passes from Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers historically, the last few seasons, last 2 to 3 seasons in games that Davante Adams has missed, Aaron Rodgers has not missed a beat, but that's still within the context of Davante being the number one, and you only have to deal with it for a couple of days. It's going to be a different, a couple of weeks. It's going to be a different situation this year. We'll see if Aaron Rodgers can continue being what he has been for the last couple of years without Davante this year when it's a much larger sample size. Now, this group of receivers that's next on the list here, and there's Trey Lance, ADP, and we're at pick 96. There's Tony, pick 111. Kareem Hunt, if he is not on Cleveland, is going to prove to be a very big value coming into this season. MVS in Kansas City is like, hey, he gets to catch passes from like Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, but he's caught passes the last 5 years from Aaron Rodgers. So I do like the ADP gap between MVS, the rookie Sky Moore, and Juju Smith-Schuster. So if I'm gonna gamble on one of those type of players, I'm more happy to do it with the cheaper guy than paying up for the more expensive guy. Rookie Walker from Seattle, part of the 74-headed running back there that they have in the Pacific Northwest. And this is why, I'm interested in building a Deshaun Watson stack, like a skinny one, right? Like if you go with Deshaun Watson around this round, right? His ADP is 110, so you're drafting him like end of round 9, beginning of round 10. It kind of feels like not terrible. Robert Woods, like that pick in Tennessee. I'm going to go off the board here. I'm going to go off my board here. Kareem Hunt is there. Melvin Gordon. I'm going to take Devin Singletary and bet on the veteran beating out the rookie who was just drafted ahead of him in this spot. Give me Devin Singletary to go with this, complete mashup of the Buffalo Bills. That team's going to score an awful lot of touchdowns. I want to capture pretty much all of them. There are also games where Josh Allen can go off with also his running back going off. We've seen that. They score 35, 40 plus points more regularly than most other teams in the league. There's 2 or 3 other teams that have that sort of scoring upside that they have. And I'm still going to end up with one of the wide receivers in this batch that I like, whether it's Kadarius Toney, whether it is MVS, whether it's Tyler Boyd, or Rondale Moore, who gets a 6-week bump in terms of his ADP, in terms of his target percentage expectation, his market share of the targets in Arizona, because Hopkins is going to be out for 6 weeks. There goes Chase Claypool, somebody who I'm really not targeting all that much. I like it when the guys that I'm not targeting come off. Take all the guys I don't want. I have 3 running backs, 5 wide receivers, still don't have a tight end. So to me, that probably means that I'm going to end up with 3 tight ends. Now, like Tyler Boyd, not somebody that I typically love, but I do like that offense. Kadarius Toney, it's a weird situation. I think that he has star potential. And Rondale Moore is what he is, but I'm going to go with Boyd here in the better offense. And kind of as we talked about, that playoff matchup where I now have a single bring back and the cheapest one, not the cheapest one, second, on Cincinnati's offense, if they get into a push and pull battle in the playoffs against these Buffalo Bills that I have completely stacked up. A lot of uncertainty around Trey Lance. People are still worried because Jimmy Garoppolo is around, understandably so, right? He's there. That's a problem. They haven't fully committed. Whether like there was all those hugs and goodbyes at the end of last season for Jimmy G, and then he's just kind of still around. It's Pierce at 116. That's a little bit ahead of ADP, but I like the pick. Little bit ahead of ADP, but I do like the pick. Trey Lance going there, 15, 17 picks below his ADP. There goes Kadarius Toney, a few picks below his ADP. Justin Fields at 112. Has any team handled their young quarterback worse in the last 2 or 3 years than the Bears did this offseason with Justin Fields? Letting, Allen Robinson goes. They don't pick anybody else up to replace him. They draft the oldest wide receiver in the in the draft class. They don't give him any help up. They don't spend on any of the elite wide receiver prospects. They don't spend on the free agent market to bring him anybody. It feels like Justin Fields is set up for failure. Like Ramondre Stevenson in that spot, I have a lot of shares of Stevenson so far. Great zero running back candidate. Somebody that you might be taking there. Kirk Cousins at 123. Another solid player. Like him as a QB2. Really like drafting him as a QB2. I think he's sort of spot. My Apple Watch is reminding me that I have a pick there on Underdog. Thank you. I'm just going to put you over here. I don't need to get pinged constantly on my wrist every time it's my pick. But thank you, Apple. The 11th round brought to you by Apple Watch. High volume, definitely early in the season. Spiller, the backup for the Chargers, could step into if Eckler gets injured, and Eckler has been injured, few times. He's not a remarkably large running back. Like, I really want him, but I feel like I have to draft him, right? I really want him, but I have to draft him. I did not end up getting, so I have to get this second guy for my Buffalo stack, right? Like, Knox passed me right around in this range where I would have had to reach for him, but I took what I felt was the better player, knowing that I'm going to draft 3 tight ends probably with this team to try and make one tight end one, right? Just to try and guarantee that I get 8 to 15 points out of my tight end on a week in, week out basis. Chances Rondale Moore has an early season breakout with Hopkins suspended. I agree. I think that he is fantastic. He was the guy that I was going to kind of take here in this spot where I took Crowder. But like, I kind of have to take Crowder there to build out the rest of this team to give me the Allen, Diggs, Crowder stack. And then I've got also Singletary with the 2 workhorses up top. As long as these 2 stay healthy, and last season Ezekiel Elliott playing on a busted knee and still dragging himself to like 10 touchdowns and 1,000 rushing yards, he's going to be fine this year, and I think he's being underdrafted. He's one of the best top 5 round running back values. Him and Leonard Fournette, and previously James Conner, who has now jumped up 10 spots in ADP as people kind of realized, hey, he's quite good, and we should probably pay attention to the fact that he is quite good. And it's ridiculous that we're not drafting. So I've got the standard 1-3-7 build so far. A lot of wide receivers. I'll probably walk out of this draft with about 8 of them in total. So I'm not going to draft other wide receivers in this spot. Although Corey Davis, if I was going to draft, go for that jet stack. That's what I'm trying to explain, or was trying to explain earlier, is that jet stack and the Jaguars stacks as secondary QB2 stacks are very, very cheap. Easy to get to. There's going to be volume with a possibility of a quarterback jumping, like a high pedigreed, high talent quarterback jumping as teams poured a lot of assets into those guys. I'm going to avoid him. I'm going to go with Irv Smith in this spot. Was going to be everybody's late round tight end that they wanted to take last season. Then he got hurt, hoping that he bounces back. Is this a Best Ball Mania 3 draft? It is a Best Ball Mania 3 draft. I typically prefer to go with 2 tight ends and draft one of the premiums in the first 5 rounds. I've gravitated towards Mark Andrews a lot because I can take Mark Andrews and still get Lamar. So I can have a ridiculously premium stack there. Algier, I like him in this spot at 13. There's a path to touches as he's going to be involved. I believe he's going to be involved early in the season as like a 30-40% guy. And then there's an upside. Roto Heat Craig B with 4 running backs and 3 Hurts, Stafford, Trey Lance. It's a way to go. It's a way to go. Love Michael Carter as a 0 running back pick, even though they drafted Breece Hall. We want players who are going to be involved. Do you think Michael Carter is going to play 0% of the snaps and get 0% of the running back touches? No, they drafted a guy in front of him. They're not going to give the rookie 80%, 90% of the touches when they still have Michael Carter, who is excellent in the passing game. They're going to utilize him, and I would assume that we're going to see maybe 60-65% of Breece Hall with 30-35% of Carter behind him. And if Carter, if an injury happens, as many injuries do happen to running backs in this league, Michael Carter goes from being a usable best ball player in the 12th round, not unlike Darrell Henderson last year, which is why we were drafting a lot of Darrell Henderson last year in that spot, to a hyper usable every week 15 to 22 touch guy. Same with James Robinson. There are loads of players in this range at this point in the draft. There goes Zach Wilson. That's kind of who I wanted at this next pick. I wanted him as my QB2. 6 of one, half dozen of another. Let's look at the QB situation. So like there's Daniel Jones, there's Tannehill, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz. They're all fine. As a QB2 behind Josh Allen, They're all fine. You liked Irv last year and he's a better spot this year. I think he's in a similar spot. There's Aquabunum. Does this guy have a jet? He took Michael Carter. He took him and he's got no other drafting randoms. Tolbert in Dallas. Corey Davis still on the board here. Van Jefferson, like that pick. Hunter Henry at tight end. Higbee, bad human. Good football player, still coming back from injury. I could take a tight end in this spot. There's no running backs that are extremely palatable to me here, and I think I can still get that guy there. So I'm going to take Higbee in this spot here. Get my second tight end. I know they have the same bye week. It's week 7. It doesn't matter. And then we'll probably take a tight end in round 17 or 18 to get our third tight end, because tight end is like actually has usable players in round 17 and 18 this year. Guys who are on the field for large, snap percentages, project to be on the field for large snap percentages. Guys who project to have like a 10+% target market share and possibly even a higher end zone and red zone market share. I've been getting a bunch of Irv and Tunyon. Yeah, I get that. I kind of like the way that this team is shaping up. I usually hesitate to mark players, but I'm going to mark some of these guys. I'll mark Herbert, Mostert, Jamal Williams, Brian Robinson, who I don't think is going to be a 30% guy or 40% guy early. But he is an injury away from taking over the number 1 spot there in Washington, is what it kind of looks like. With Gibson cemented as the number 1 guy, and then let's just say that McKissick's in the James White role, or James White plus, with Gibson slated to be the 60-70% player. And then on passing downs, they go to McKissick. I think they could spell him for a couple touches a game, like 1 or 2 touches a game early in the season for Robinson Jr. David Bell on Cleveland, the other end of that stack, right? Who's the first Lions wide receiver taken off the board? It's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Winston in round 14. Coming up to me on the next pick, Corey Davis still on the board. I'm going to go with my QB2, Daniel Jones. I don't have a wide receiver to go with him. We didn't take the wide receiver. I kind of wanted to get Elijah Moore paired with him. I'm not counting Saquon Barkley as that guy, but Daniel Jones with Josh Allen's old offensive coordinator taking over as his head coach. Believe coach speak whenever you want to. Take it with a grain of salt, as I do most often, but he's going to run his offense. The last regime just kind of was like, you know what? We have to protect him. We're not going to let him throw. We're not going to let him do this. He's like, you know what? You brought me in here to run my offense. Let's find out what we got, right? Let's find out what we got with Daniel Jones and see what he is. Because if he sucks, you're going to need to replace him anyway. And what if he fits in this offense? I'm not saying he has Josh Allen's skill set. He clearly doesn't. But like, he can move a little bit. He can run. And he does have a big, strong arm. So like, and you have a bevy of wide receivers with Galladay and Tony. They drafted Wandale. They've got a lot of guys that can kind of do stuff in the slot, on the outside. Shepard's still there. It kind of feels like if you're gonna have him as your quarterback, if this is the last season, you just kind of have to run him out there and go 100 miles an hour. And if he can't hang and you suck, whatever. Next year, 2023's draft class is one of the best quarterback draft classes over the last 5 years, including the last 2, which have been stellar. So you've got superstar quarterbacks coming down the pipe, and if Daniel Jones sucks, you reset with one of those rookie quarterbacks and groom him to be the franchise. So protecting him and going slow with him. I'll get a couple tight ends on the list. Like I was saying, late in drafts, Logan Thomas, Gerald Everett, Evan Ingram on Jacksonville, Hayden Hurst on Cincinnati. There's a lot of guys. Uzama on the Jets, Hooper on Tennessee. Somebody's got to catch the ball. There's a lot of guys who project to be on the field. A lot. CJ Uzoma last season, 63 targets, 49 catches, 5 touchdowns. Tight ends that are being drafted in like the 10th and 12th rounds. And then look at CJ Uzoma's stats last year in that Bengals offense, which now should be more efficient based on the amount of money that they spent on that offensive line, the biggest problem with that offense. And then look at who vacated those targets, CJ Uzoma, and who stepped into him. Hayden Hurst has now stepped into that role as the primary pass-catching tight end. Corey Davis going about 15 to 20 picks behind his ADP. I'm 2 picks away, so I'm going to keep this. End of the 15th round. There goes Everett, goes in that spot. I'm going to take Jamal here in round 15. We have 16, 17, 18 coming up. Chiefs Broncos stack. They play week 14 and 17 versus each other. Week 14 is not a playoff week. That doesn't look, they're going to play each other twice. If you just take a lot of AFC West, aside from the bye week, obviously, they're going to be in a lot of high scoring games against one another. Like, those players are going to be in a lot of high scoring games against one another, whether it's Chiefs Broncos, whether it's Raiders Chiefs, whether it's Broncos, Chargers. It doesn't matter where you go at that point. They're all going to be solid for the simple fact the game totals are going to be 55 plus in every one of those games. Sony Michel going way ahead. 26 picks ahead of ADP. 26 picks ahead of ADP there. Very aggressive. You have one team on DK. It's all AFC West players. Are they all the same bye week? All 4 teams? Like, I don't want to punt off an entire week. He isn't even a lock to make the team. I agree. I like him in the last round. I don't love him 2 rounds ahead of, I don't like him in the 15th, 16th round. I'm going to take Hayden Hurst here, double H. So that fills out my 3 tight ends, right? Hurst, Higbee, Smith. Between these 3 cats, I'm not going to get top 4 tight end. Right? This is not going to total, I don't believe. This is going to total one of the top 3 tight ends on the board, right? Guys like Andrews, guys like Kelsey, they're otherworldly, 200 to 250 fantasy points. I'm not going to get that, but I should be able to get enough touchdowns out of that trio, assuming that Tyler Higbee is healthy. Good chunk of the season. He's not out early, which now opens me up to be able to do enough things. Now, my running back situation, I have 4. Jamal Williams, 40% guy at this point. I believe. I could be wrong with that. It could be, Craig Robinson. But I do believe that he has a role on this team and is, I'm fine as an RB4 or RB5. I'm fine drafting players that have a role that we could then accelerate if injury happens in front of him. I don't root for injury, but we're aware that injuries do happen specifically to running backs. And as those things do happen to running backs, we have to put ourselves in a position to be ready for it. Now, the running backs that are still available on the list: Brian Robinson Jr., James White, Matt Breida, Deontay Foreman for Carolina, Kenyon Drake, Zamir White, Mark Ingram, Boston Scott, who always seems to have a role, Justin Jackson, who I believe is 3rd on that depth chart, Rex Burkhead, who has 1 good game a year, Hassan Haskins, there goes Robinson Jr., Hilliard, Pirine, Johnson, Eno, like a lot of guys that don't have a lot going for them. You're strong in New England, like a lot of stuff has to happen. The cop-out pick here, I think that there is a Hail Mary pick in this spot, and there is a safe-ish pick in this spot. There goes Mac Jones. Back then they didn't want him, but right now they're all on him. Mac Jones! Yeah, I know it's Mike. Leave me alone, all right? Kenny Pickett. Okay. All right. So Lamar Jackson, he went with all right, let's see if I can get 2. You know what? Maybe he took Mac Jones like, oh, crap. I have 2 guys that are around 10. I have to take another QB. Do you think that's what happened here? You don't want to take a 0 at quarterback in any week. No! I wanted Zamir White, and I was going to tell you why I wanted Zamir White. I think Zamir White takes over the backup job. I really do. I think that he takes the backup job in Las Vegas away from Kenyon Drake, especially as the season goes along. And then again, we're drafting him as an RB5, so he doesn't need to contribute all that much. But there's a chance for massive upside there in the 17th round if Jacobs gets injured and he takes over the number 1 spot. So that leaves me with I'll take the safe-ish guy with James White. If healthy, he's going to be involved in the passing game. That allows me to take 1 more wide receiver here to fill out my team. As I said, I kind of wanted that 2, 5, 8, 3 build with the way that this worked out. So I'll sort by this real quick. Deontay Foreman, he's fine. There's Jones, the really old Chicago wide receiver taken by the 9 hole. Julio Jones. How far up boards does Julio Jones rocket if and when he signs somewhere? I've got to go LaVisca. I most certainly do not. We stay on brand on this channel, and that would mean that we are not drafting him. Not the guy I want. Ingram, Hooper, guys who are going to be on the field and catching passes. Round 17 tight ends. If you're not drafting these guys as your number 1, but if you're taking these guys as your tight end 2, or in a build like mine where I did not get a premium tight end, if I draft a premium tight end, I'll take 2. If I draft a not premium tight end, my first tight end is post round 10, I usually end up taking 3. May or may not be optimal. I don't think there are very many mistakes, though. I think people overestimate mistakes in roster build for the sense that content has to be written, content has to be produced, saying it's fine. People happy for great content. It's like what makes for clickable content is people who do this are idiots. People who draft 3 tight ends in any way, shape, or form in best ball are complete idiots. I prefer Edwards is a very good pick there. I like that pick. I'm going to go with Sterling Shepard here. I can't quit him. And it gives me that little correlation late in the game with Daniel Jones in that spot. Uzoma going here. So we'll bring this up to show you the end of the draft. You're probably not going to see it. Devin Duvernay, right now, the wide receiver 2. He is starting right now opposite. Light up when I do. Oh, look at there. He is starting opposite of Bateman right now. Mills, I don't hate in the 18th round as a backup QB, or sometimes if you're taking 3 QBs because you didn't draft a stud quarterback and you want to go with 3 to try and give you that 20-point week every week that you play. Brevin Jordan, second-year tight end in Houston. Last 2 picks of the draft coming up quickly. It's a 30-second timer. It's the 18th round. Nico Collins, a lot of Houston player. Run on Texans at the end of the draft. Last pick here, 3-4-8-2 build for Hot Sizzos. Sonic, thank you for the 200 biddies. People doing football things. That's what we are. We're here doing football things. Finish the draft! All right, Best Ball Mania 2. Is it this one? Yes, this is the pick that I had. Projected at 2,686 points. I'm seeming to end up on a lot of Josh Allen stacks. So we have Allen with Jones backing him up. Hopefully we get a few serviceable weeks. Need Barkley to stay healthy. Ezekiel Elliott, I believe we're drafting him at his floor in the middle of round 4. Devin Singletary is the guy that I think is going to win that backfield and get the lion's share of it. 200 to 250 touches out of him as my RB3. But at pick 104, right on ADP is fine. Jamal Williams and James White just kind of there. Not much upside with either of them. Don't love them. Wanted other picks. Didn't end up getting that in the draft. Love my wide receivers. Wide receivers are strong. Somebody call CD Carter. My wide receivers are strong. I probably should have spent more capital. Have you thought about drafting better running backs? But my wide receivers, very strong. With Steph Diggs, Terry McLaurin, Elijah Moore, Brandon Ayuk, Russell Gage going to be a target monster this year. Tyler Boyd is the bring back to the Buffalo stack for the championship week, if I am lucky enough to get there. Jamison Crowder, Sterling Shepard, and the 3-headed monster at tight end, Irv Smith, Tyler Higbee, and Hayden Hurst. Thank you guys for watching, and look out for another video. How do I name this? Info? Yeah, that's how you do it. Oh, yeah. Guys, if you don't know how to do this, on Underdog Fantasy, you can name your drafts. Right now, all these just say Best Ball Mania 3, but we just drafted this team, which is a Josh Allen double stack and Daniel Jones single. So we can go here on this team and go up here, click the information bubble, and right here, you can rename your draft. Josh Allen double stack. Oh, Allen double stack. Daniel Jones. Damn it! I'm failing at this! Save. So now, here, it's going to tell me what this team is. So now when you look through your teams on Underdog Fantasy, you're going to easily see what your teams are. Now I'm going to go through and do it for my other teams, but I don't want you guys to see them yet because we're going to do a big reveal on other videos as the summer progresses. So we're going to look at all the different stacks that I have for different players, see what my highest played or highest drafted stacks are, where I'm ending up, how my stacks build out, and who my favorite players are up to certain points.
He's a legend.